welcome to ScreenBlitz, the weekly film and television show. I'm your host Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton, or you can go to forcedbygrant.wordpress.com for all of my written reviews. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe, gave me a thumbs up, and left a comment down below. If you're watching this live on Twitch, you can get involved in the show. Follow me and leave something in the chat. After each segment of the show is finished, I go into the chat, we have a hangout, and we have a lot of fun and friendly discussions about everything I've talked about. Otherwise, this is the film and TV show. Each and every week, I give you all the top news, views, reviews, previews, features, opinions, and more that you need to know. Part 1 today, we touch on the news. Part 2 is all about reviews. I'm reviewing Orange is the New Black Season 6, as well as the film Blockers. And in Part 3, I'm talking all things James Bond, and I'm going to outline what I would do with the James Bond franchise moving forward. Might be a little controversial, but let's get on with the show, shall we, with Part 1, which is the news. Item number 1 is from Kate Hasty from EW. Robert Redford announces he's retiring. The Old Man and the Gun will be his final film. So, well-respected actor, Academy Award winner for Ordinary People. He's been around a long time. I don't know how old he is exactly, but I think he's in his 80s now. And he's not doing too much anymore. Big screen-wise, his last big notable role was probably Captain America. But he done that film as well where he was on a boat. And I think it was like just him in the entire film. I never actually watched it. But yeah, shame to see him go. But I'm not sure how many people will actually notice that he's not acting anymore, because he hasn't done much. Item number 2. Mike Fleming Jr. from Deadline says that a Supergirl film is on the drawing board for Warner Brothers and DC. It's going to be written by Oren Uziel, who wrote Cloverfield Paradox and 22 Jump Street. I'm not sure if he did write 22 Jump Street, but that's what the website says. So my initial thought is, why? Because we already have a decent Supergirl TV show. Why do we need a Supergirl movie? And if you're going to do a Supergirl movie, it damn well better be different from the TV show. You have to fit it into the canon somewhere, because so far there's been no mention of Henry Cavill's Superman having a cousin who potentially survived. Now, of course, he thinks everyone in his family and all of his relatives and all the people of his species are dead. But, yeah, why is he not aware that Supergirl exists on Earth, if that is exactly the storyline they're going to go with? So, yeah, if they're going to do this, they need to be different from the TV show. They need to find a way to fit it into the current canon, and I feel like this is just a way to get Superman into more products and to try and test out a more light-hearted tone for Superman, because the dark and gloomy stuff hasn't worked for him thus far. Item number 3. Patrick hypes at Deadline. Johnny Depp's City of Lies movie pulled from release schedule. Film about the investigation into Notorious B.I.G.'s murder was supposed to release next month. So, films getting delayed and reshuffled on the schedule is not unheard of. It happens all the time. But what is a little odd about this one is that it was only a month away. So I think it was meant to be out in like 4 or 5 weeks. That's odd. So why is this happening? Perhaps they just thought the film wasn't going to do well at this time. Maybe they just thought the film wasn't good enough, so they're worried about it maybe. But I think this has more to do with the star Johnny Depp, because Johnny Depp, like him or hate him, he's got a lot of controversial stuff going on in his life at the minute. The stuff with his ex-wife and so on and so forth. Maybe that's going to affect the blockbuster draw of the film. Maybe it's going to affect how much of a success the film is, and they're worried about that. It's not exactly a good time to be Johnny Depp. Hell, even Fantastic Beasts, the next film in the Harry Potter franchise, is getting a lot of flack because Johnny Depp's still in it. So if that can't survive the flack, I don't think this will. So notably, they haven't announced a new release date yet either, and this is going to be 2019 now at the least. Next up, this is simply from the shortlist. Interestingly, they didn't have a writer on this, so I don't know who actually wrote it, which is odd. But Dave Bautista says he'll quit Guardians of the Galaxy if James Gunn's script isn't used. He's asked to be released from his contract over Gunn's firing, and he said he'd be doing Gunn a disservice if he didn't step away. So wow, Dave Bautista really likes James Gunn, which of course makes sense because James Gunn essentially made Dave Bautista's career in film. Before that, he was just another wrestler trying to be an actor, and James Gunn gave him this role, and it turns out Bautista pretty good. I would argue that he's the best thing about the Guardians of the Galaxy films. So the problem here is that one, he is under contract, so he's going to have to pay off his contract or something. There's going to have to be a lot of negotiating if he's going to step down from this, which means a lot of money is going to be exchanging hands one way or another. Another thing is that this is Dave Bautista's defining role in acting. It could be a huge career change and mistake if he steps down from it. He might live to regret this if this were to happen. But this next story brings us some hope, because Mike Fleming Jr. at Deadline says that possible reprieve on James Gunn and Guardians as Marvel back channels with Disney. Sources said that back-channel conversations are taking place between Marvel Studios and Disney. Sources said the Marvel contingent is trying to persuade Disney to explore a compromise that might bring Gunn back into the fold for Guardians 3. So this confirms that the problem with James Gunn and directing this film is one with Disney rather than Marvel. So Marvel wants him back. It would be smart to bring him back, because no matter what happens with Guardians 3, whether he directs it or not, there's going to be a lot of attention on this, and if he's not directing it, it's going to be a lot of negative attention. People are going to not go to see his film simply because he's not attached to it. So it'd be smart to bring him back. And I don't know if they're going to bring him back. I don't know if it's right to bring him back. Personally, I think this is a tough issue to talk about, because yeah, he's done something wrong, but he apologized for it, and I don't think he meant any harm by it. And it's also worth pointing out that this all happened. He done the thing and he apologized for it before he even done the original Guardians. So they knew about it when they hired him, and I think they're just annoyed that it's coming back to haunt them. And I wouldn't build your hopes up just yet. So yeah, that's that. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 may or may not have James Gunn in it, and may or may not have Dave Bautista in it. Laura Prudhomme at IGN says that Ruby Rose has been cast as Batwoman in the CW's Arrowverse crossover, which debuts this December in the crossover storyline. She'll potentially star in her own spin-off Batwoman show if it's a success. So I'm going to get this right out of the way. I don't know much about Batwoman. I don't really know her relationship to Batman, but I know that she's in Gotham. I know she's a lesbian character and very well liked. Other than that, not much at all about her. That being said, I think Ruby Rose is brilliant casting for this role. One, the look of her, she looks the part. If you've ever seen images from the comic books, you put a Batwoman costume on her, she will be Batwoman. Another thing is, she's a lesbian in real life, so that kind of helps with the LGBTQ plus representation. I don't think it's entirely necessary to cast a lesbian in a lesbian role, but in this case that's what they've done, and I've got no problem with it. But yeah, so Ruby Rose, she's also a pretty good actress. I liked her in Orange is the New Black for the season that she was in. I liked her in John Wick Chapter 2, although she didn't speak in that film. And she's just came out with the Meg. I haven't seen that yet. And she done something else as well, but I can't. Yeah, it was the Triple X film that she done, but I never saw that ever. But yeah, she's well liked. She used to be a DJ. She's now an actress. And notably, she's covered in tattoos. I don't know if Batwoman has tattoos. I don't know if it's part of her character or anything like that. But they might have to cover her up with makeup or costumes, because if they don't want the tattoos in the show, that's going to be a problem. And I mean, she's covered in tattoos. You can see in the image here, she's got them on her neck, her back, everywhere. I've got nothing against the tattoos. I think she looks good with them, but in this particular role, they might have to do something about that, or they might have to write them into the actual character. The disappointing thing about this for me is if she's cast in this TV show, it means we might not see her in movies or anything else for a while because she'll be too busy doing this. But hey, she'll probably do a good job at this. Final story. Final story. This is probably the big one of the week. Scott Feinberg at The Hollywood Reporter says that Oscars have added a popular film category. And this has been getting a lot of controversy, and rightfully so. I've got mixed feelings about it, most of which are negative. So, I think the Academy Awards and even events like the Golden Globes and the Emmys on TV and BAFTAs, they've needed something like this for a very long time, because you've got these big films, all the Marvel films, all the Star Wars films, Fast and Furious, Mission Impossible, all them sort of things, big blockbuster action films, and the problem is they're not getting the big recognition they are from the major awards services, outside of, say, special effects and visual effects and all that lot. And that's wrong, I think. But this popular film category is going to help that, I think. But at the same time, it's going to be a bit of a disservice to both these films and the other films that get nominated for Best Film. The name is simply terrible. To say popular is wrong, because you're basically saying you're a good film, but you're not good enough to be getting this award, but you're popular, so we'll give you some attention. That, it's not right. What doesn't help is that they've announced this and then they haven't said anything about it. They haven't told us what the requirements are for the award. They haven't said what you need to be classed as a popular film. Everyone's just kind of assuming it's a mainstream blockbuster thing. It's going to be focused on action movies, but that might not actually be the case. I think it will be, but I think it was a big mistake to come out and say this without actually clarifying it, because now you've got everyone on the internet dishing out all their views and being very critical of it. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe they're wanting to get this out there to get the response so they can then make up their mind what exactly the classification for this is going to be based on that response. So currently it sounds like maybe it's going to be box office receipts, maybe it's going to be audience votes. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is going to be a typical just award category that the Academy Award votes on, but it very well could be. There are other award shows. The BAFTAs has an audience voting award, but it's usually for upcoming actors and actresses. So it wouldn't be unheard of if it is like an audience participation kind of thing, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. It suggests these films are nothing more but popular, which is wrong. Why can't, say, Mission Impossible Fallout be put on the same pedestal as, say, films like La La Land or Moonlight? I would say Mission Impossible Fallout deserves that recognition. And what if you are a popular film and you're being nominated for this? Can you still get nominated for Best Film? Or does this completely lock you out of that possibility? And at the end of the day, the whole reason for this is because the Academy Awards is a TV show, and they need the ratings, they want the viewers. By getting the popular film category, they're going to draw in more viewers because they're going to have the Marvel films, the Star Wars films in this category get more attention than they usually do. And yeah, that's a smart move, but I don't think it's going to help the recognition of the award. I don't think it's going to help the reputation of the award. But moving on to the trailers of this week. Maniac. I just watched this trailer before the show started. Not quite sure what to make of it. It's a little weird. It looks like it's mixing genres, a bit of fantasy, science fiction in there. It looks like it's going to be very mind-bendy stuff, and it looks very odd and weird. But I do like Emma Stone. I do like Jonah Hill. So that's got me hooked in already. I'm going to give it a go, I think. Very interesting visuals. But yeah, not sure what to make of it. Next up. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 2. So, this show's brilliant. If you haven't watched it, give it a go. best show of last year without a doubt, and I can't wait for more. When they announced the show was being made, they actually renewed it for 2 seasons, so the second season should be coming out this year, I imagine, because that's kind of how TV works now. They renew it for multiple seasons, that way they can actually get straight to work on the following season once they've released one. That way they can release a season a year, because TV is getting harder and longer to produce these days. So the only disappointing thing about the first season of Marvel Simpson Maisel was that there wasn't enough episodes. It left me wanting more, and hopefully this season has more episodes. I'm not sure if it will or won't, but we're getting more, which is brilliant. Why is this not working? Right, Slaughterhouse Rules. This looks like an Edgar Wright film without Edgar Wright, because you got Simon Pegg, you got Nick Frost in there. Michael Sheen shows up, he looks like the best thing in the trailer. He's the only thing that really popped for me, he's the only thing that looked funny. This was not a good trailer. I don't really know what the film's about. It looks like a sort of a spoof of Harry Potter or Saint Trinians with like monsters and mutants or something. Yeah, it's a comedy film, but it didn't really make me laugh, with the exception of a couple of Michael Sheen moments. And yeah, not sure what to make of this, to be honest. And that's the end of part 1, which was all about the news. Heading into part 2, I'm going to be reviewing Orange is the New Black Season 6 and Blockers. If you like this, give me a follow on Twitch, get involved in the chat. I'm going to look over there right now, but it doesn't look like there's much going on. And on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, that'll be really appreciated. 100 subscribers gets me a custom URL, which makes it easier for me to share and spread the word. Speaking of sharing and spreading the word, share this across social media. You might know someone who might be interested. Help me build my audience. Otherwise, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _Grant Burton. And yeah, thanks for watching so far.